Hello, good morning. Welcome to the vicarage. I normally do the Wednesday morning slot, but I've had to swap with Rona this week because I'm doing a funeral, the funeral of Gladys Bacchus on Wednesday. And my challenge this morning is to keep it under 10 minutes. I seem to find that difficult, so here goes. The passage this morning that we've circulated, I hope you've received it with our email. The passage this morning is from the book of Exodus, and it's taken from one of the readings used at morning prayer. And the way this all works is that if, as clergy are meant to, but others are quite welcome to, if you read morning and evening prayer and their readings every day, during the course of 2 years, you read pretty well the whole Bible. And so they'll go through whole books over a week, 2-3 week period. And at the moment, both evening and morning, we're kind of, in the Old Testament, we're looking at hearing about the Exodus, the journey of Moses and the people after the fleeing from Egypt, on their long journey, 40 years, maybe hyperbole, but it was a long time, until they finally settled in the area that we now call Palestine, Israel. And it was a journey rather under stress, of course, and so it revealed, and reveals still, reading it, the whole of human nature, I'd say. It's both some of the virtues and many of the failings that human beings then as now are prone to. In fact, reading it, and indeed you could say this about a lot of the narrative of the Old Testament as a whole, is a bit like, well, EastEnders, but translated to a different landscape with different clothes on. Just all of life is there. So in today's passage, just to set the scene, Moses is at a point in the journey when he is kind of really seriously, spiritually engaging with God, a process that will lead to the revealing of the Ten Commandments and then the beginning of the whole sort of legal and ethical evolution from that. And there's been sort of moments when he and the people have encountered the awe of God, and the people are uncomfortable, are rather overwhelmed by this, and have said, Moses, we'd rather you see to that and then tell us. So he's gone up onto the mountain, again a long time, the figure 40 days this time is mentioned, and the people have been left behind as they wandered, in the care of Moses' articulate but perhaps slightly weaker brother Aaron. And human nature being what it is, they've got bored, they've got rather doubtful about what he's up to. Maybe he'll never come back anyway, he's been such a long time. And so we'll hear what happens. So this is from chapter 32 of the book Exodus. When the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, the people gathered themselves together to Aaron and said to him, Up, make us gods who shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him. And Aaron said to them, Okay, take the rings of gold which are in the ears of your wives, your sons and your daughters, and bring them to me. So all the people took off the rings of gold which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold at their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool and made a molten calf. And they said, These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. When Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation and said, Tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord. And they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. And then the Lord said to Moses, Go down, for your people whom you brought up out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made for themselves a molten calf and have worshipped it and sacrificed to it and said, These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them. But of you I will make a great nation. But Moses besought the Lord his God, and said, O Lord, why does thy wrath burn hot against thy people, whom thou hast brought forth out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians say, with evil intent did he bring them forth, to slay them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from thy fierce wrath, and repent of this evil against thy people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, thy servants, to whom thou didst swear by thine own self, and didst say to them, I will multiply your descendants as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have promised I will give to your descendants, and they shall inherit it forever. And the Lord repented of the evil which he thought to do to his people. Well, in that passage, which I say is just one sort of cameo during quite a long saga, full of human interest and divine implications. But in that section of the story, we see, I suppose, what is a timeless thing, a temptation to create gods of our own, gods that are more to our liking, gods that are more convenient for us. And I think you could almost say that one of the things many people have recognised, perhaps without consciously putting it in words, during this time of lockdown and crisis, is that we've had to come to terms with some of our false gods. Cheap travel. What could possibly be bad about that wonderful thing? We can travel anywhere cheaply, and the world's our oyster. Who thought about climate change, let alone the fluent transmission of pandemic around the world? There's a downside. And money, we've made money and cheap goods, global capitalism, our God, haven't we? We can even remember times when, everything to do with private profit was good. It was bound to be good for everybody. Anything to do with public service was kind of old hat and bad. And again, we've had to sort of rethink it all a bit. So, just like the people there, we kind of go for short-term gods and those that are convenient for us. And I suppose any crisis is a time for all of us, whether we have a religious faith or not, to kind of reappraise what really is in charge of our lives and what should be, and who should be the ultimate God that we obey and follow and seek to serve. We see weak leadership illustrated there, and I guess we can see that all around the world, in every institution and in politics too, how it's very hard to be a leader of conviction rather than a leader of complicity. And perhaps our democracy is a wonderful and great thing, but it's so easy just to always be thinking of what's going to get me elected in a few years' time or a few months' time, and how much we do need leaders spiritually, politically, and in every institution who can think longer term and patiently and consultatively, but lead from conviction, not just from what seems convenient or complicit. We also see here in this passage a first or an early hint in the Old Testament that God is not a vengeful God. He wants to do away with all these people. Moses prays to him, and God is perceived as having a forgiving heart. Now, I don't believe God changes, but I think our understanding of God evolves, and I think it evolves all through the time of the Old Testament, and we can see increasingly the insight that God is a God of mercy, not of vengeance. But here's a sort of early hint of it, quite near the beginning of the Old Testament narrative. It's only a hint because, in fact, Moses didn't need any assistance from God to do a bit of vengefulness anyway. 3,000 people, it says, were killed as a result of his coming back down the mountain and sorting them out. And then for good measure, God comes back involved and gives them a plague as well. So it's just a hint. But it's a reminder that in the Old Testament we are seeing this kind of slowly evolving picture of God, which we see fulfilled in Jesus, of course, revealing a God of mercy and a God indeed who suffers with us and doesn't wish to simply apply suffering to us. So there's a few thoughts and reflections. My cat is sitting peacefully here next to me. He's been dashing around like a teenager earlier on and digging his claws into me, but he's ever so peaceful and purring now next to me. I hope you have a good day, and I hope this is under 10 minutes. And I'm going to finish with a very short prayer by somebody called Lunig, I think it's pronounced. And you can see a little picture there. Yeah, nice little picture of a dog and a man, which will be explained when I read the prayer. It's a sort of topsy-turvy prayer to remind us that sometimes when things don't go to plan, maybe it's God's way of reminding us of something important. God, give us rain when we expect sun. Give us music when we expect trouble. Give us tears when we expect breakfast. Give us dreams when we expect a storm. Give us a stray dog when we expect congratulations. God, play with us. Turn us sideways and around. Amen. So, whatever God plays with you today, stay safe, have fun, and God bless you.